before was entitled Hot Security Issues in Controlled Area, New Progress in Asia-Pacific Security Cooperation. That's a long title, but what we talked about in the first half of the session was the Korean Peninsula, and in the second half we talked about the maritime strategic environment. And I should start my remarks by saying that even though we discussed issues of involving some strategic tension and competition, the discussion was very calm and reasoned, and it gives one hope that the situation can continue to be managed for stability. On the Korean Peninsula, participants noted that historically the Korean Peninsula has been a battleground or a stage for great power competition, inviting interventions by external powers throughout history. And today we see an unstable regime in the north arming itself with nuclear weapons that are becoming deliverable with ballistic missiles. So the situation is still one of strategic rivalry in the region and, of course, growing danger from nuclear proliferation. Now, different views on how to manage this situation were presented. Some say that China could help by applying more pressure on the North to induce it to denuclearize. Others say the U.S. can apply more persuasion or reassurance, rewards, to induce the North Koreans to feel safer and thereby give up their nuclear weapons. South Koreans view the situation from different points of view, but one view that was expressed was that China is playing a kind of a balancing role between North and South, and at some point China is going to have to decide which way to go. It's very difficult to please two people who are disagreeing and maintain credibility with both sides. There seems to be no alternative to the six-party talks and no alternative to denuclearization, and yet it's increasingly difficult to see how denuclearization can be resolved if we don't change something. One thing that could be tried that has not been tried so far is to apply more pressure and more reassurance at the same time. This would require some cooperation amongst the six parties, and perhaps with the bilateral talks to create the conditions for a successful six-party talk final resolution of the issue. Now, moving to the maritime strategic environment. Here we see that China is a great power. It's risen to great power status. It wants to be a great power in terms of maritime naval capabilities. This seems to be an inevitable trend. So friction is going to be inevitable in the Western Pacific, and therefore certain measures need to be taken. We need codes of conduct, confidence-building measures, crisis management mechanisms, in order to manage the tensions that are likely to arise. Now, in this regard, one underutilized resource is a network of Asia-Pacific universities, where the academics can engage in academic exchange, freely exchange views, and try to cooperatively come up with new ways of thinking about these issues. Now, with regard to sea lane defense, sea lanes are the focus of it's a focus of strategic tension as different nations seek to ensure the security of their trade. Now, sea lane defense can be a common and cooperative security agenda, or it could be managed by a single power hegemon imposing its rules, or it could be managed by competing naval powers, but this creates a security dilemma. So it was suggested that sea lane governance or sea lane security should be done cooperatively because it's in the common interest of so many of the powers in the region. With respect to Taiwan, looking forward to the next presidential and legislative elections, it seems as though there may be a change in the presidency. But regardless of who's in the presidency after this election, nobody expects a change in the status quo. That is, no independence, no reunification in the foreseeable future. So in terms of the reality of the situation, no change. And we shouldn't be distracted by words. We should be paying attention to what actually is the situation. Now, in this regard, the U.S. position remains the same. U.S. policy towards Taiwan is based on the 3 communiques with China as well as the Taiwan Relations Act. Now, with respect to the strategic triangle, that is China, Japan, U.S. relations, what's happened in the past 10 years is China has moved from being a sort of a lesser power in East Asia under a U.S. hegemonic system to a great power. So this triangle now has 2 great powers in it, and Japan is a lesser power allied to the U.S. So the question is, what effect does this have, this new geometry have on stability? What it means is that great power stability can be maintained. That's not difficult to do, but in the regional maritime environment, the U.S. alliance with Japan gives the U.S. a strategic advantage in the maritime environment. And this is likely to be the situation going forward. In the longer run, we can see Russia and India entering this domain. So the prospect of a single power hegemony is not a realistic one in the maritime environment. But as I say, I'd like to end by emphasizing that all this was discussed very calmly, very rationally, and it gives us great hope for being able to manage things going forward. Thank you.